Without a doubt, one of my favorite spots on the Gettysburg battlefield is the Wheatfield. This is a place that after the battle became known as the Whirlpool of Death. This was a spot that just sucked soldiers in and chewed them up and spit them back out. And throughout the second day of fighting during the Battle of Gettysburg, well, this field right here would have changed hands multiple times. It was kind of like a wave that was going back and forth, and every time the wave crested and receded, it just left piles of dead men behind. Well, towards the end of the day, around 7 or 7:30, there was a stone wall right along through here somewhere, and the men of the Confederacy, so the Wolford's Georgians, and then to their right, Kershaw South Carolinians, would have basically made their way across the Wheatfield and would have been along this wall. And with all of the smoke and haze, what they didn't know is that across Plum Run in the Valley of Death, well, there were some more Union soldiers that were getting ready to push right in here. For the Army of the Potomac, the second day of the Battle of Gettysburg was all about just plugging gaps and plugging holes and grabbing regiments and basically doing anything that they could to stem this wave of Confederates that were trying to take the high ground along Cemetery Ridge. And as I mentioned, right here at the Wheatfield, towards 7 or 7:30, well, the Confederates would have made it up to this stone wall. What they didn't know is that across Plum Run, well, a division from the 5th Corps had recently arrived. And of course, the 5th Corps was commanded by Sykes. And this last division, he was going to throw into the battle to try and push the Confederates out of the Wheatfield. From where I am standing right now, we are looking to the south. Off to our right is the bloody Wheatfield. And again, right in here along the edge of the Wheatfield, you would have had Wolford's Georgians, and just beyond them you would have had Kershaw and the South Carolinians. And if we look off to our left, well, we can get a look at Little Round Top and Big Round Top. Okay, down through here is the Valley of Death. And as I mentioned, the 5th Corps commander, General George Sykes, is going to take a position on Little Round Top. And his last division to arrive was led by a guy named Samuel Crawford. And in Samuel Crawford's division, well, they have some guys from the Pennsylvania reserves. Now, as they are approaching the field, Longstreet is assessing the situation, and he is not liking what he has seen. Hood has been taken out. There are a couple of other brigade commanders, Anderson and Sims, who have been taken out. There are casualties everywhere through here. So he makes the decision that Wolford and Kershaw probably need to withdraw out of the Wheatfield. This isn't a spot that they can hold. And helping them kind of move along and helping to push them out of the Wheatfield, well, is going to be a Union brigade under Crawford, led by Colonel William McCandless. And with William McCandless's brigade is a regiment called the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves. We can see their monument off in the distance. And if we look right over here, well, you can see the left flank marker for the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves. So they're going to make their way from Little Round Top across Plum Run, the Valley of Death, and are going to finish out the day right along through here. And we have an artifact with us from the Gettysburg Museum of History today that we have brought back to this spot that is connected to a guy from the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves.
I'm at the edge of the Wheatfield on the Gettysburg battlefield, and we're at the 1st PA Reserves Monument, or the 30th Pennsylvania as it's sometimes called. And I'm holding in my hand a picture of Lieutenant Cheney W. Niels, who was in the 30th PA Volunteers and was here at Gettysburg. I also have his foot officer's sword. And this is the first time I ever brought this back to the spot. He would have been in this general area. And we have these at the Gettysburg Museum of History. We've had them for quite a while. There's no scabbard with this sword because it was a leather scabbard, and I'm sure something happened to it along the way, which is common with these type of swords. But Gettysburg has a really interesting connection with the 1st PA Reserves because Company K of that regiment was from guys from Gettysburg and Adams County. Now, Niels was not. He was in Company A, I believe, and then he was moved, but he was not in Company K, but he was still out here, and we're happy to bring out his sword today. Lieutenant Niels would survive the Battle of Gettysburg, but he tragically died in 1864 of disease, not a combat wound. More Civil War soldiers actually died of disease than of combat wounds, and Niels was one of those who died of disease.
While we're here, I want to take a little closer look at this monument. When you come to Gettysburg, well, one of the things that helps you to really interpret the battle are the monuments. There's a channel for the Adams County Historical Society where historian Tim Smith has something called Monuments Mondays, where he goes through and talks about a lot of these monuments on the battlefield. And if you look right here, if I can get it focused, it says July 2nd in the evening, charged from the hill in rear to this position and held it until the afternoon of July 3rd, when the brigade advanced through the woods to the front and left, driving the enemy and capturing many prisoners. So that's the legacy of the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves here at the Battle of Gettysburg. And as you might imagine, with so much lead flying around during the battle, well, there was quite a bit to be picked up here after the battle.
Another fun fact about the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves is they were one of the units that were using 69 caliber rifled muskets. So they originally took Model 42 Springfields, which was a smoothbore, and there were so many serviceable versions of those in circulation that instead of firing them with buck and ball and some of the other rounds, they decided to update them to the new technology, which was a rifled barrel. Now, you can't really theoretically put a 58 caliber barrel on an old 69 caliber frame. So what they did was they made a 69 caliber rifled barrel, and they retrofitted those old Model 42s into a rifled version. And this is a normal 58 caliber bullet, which is pretty big. This is a 69 caliber rifled bullet. And archaeology tells us, or post-war pickups tell us, that the one place where a lot of these 69 caliber rounds were found were in the Valley of Death and in this area. We have plates of relics from all the different locations, and these 69 calibers, although they were used by some other unit, there was a lot of them that were recovered in this area. So almost all the ones that are properly documented from Gettysburg come from the Valley of Death area and this general area. So I just thought that was a fun little fact. Not a lot of guys were using the 69 caliber rifled musket, but the 1st PA Reserves were.
We've moved just to the south of the position where the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves were at on the into the second day of the Battle of Gettysburg, and we are now standing at the monument for the 13th Pennsylvania Reserves, also known as the 42nd Bucktails. So these guys were also in McCandless's brigade, so they were in the same brigade as the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves, and initially were positioned behind, like in a second line, behind the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves, but then were deployed off to the left, essentially came down Plum Run or down the Valley of Death, and then took up a position right in here on the left flank.
I'm standing at the 42nd PA monument on the Gettysburg battlefield. We're just above Devil's Den area near the Valley of Death, kind of in between the Valley of Death and the Wheatfield. And I have a picture or photograph, period photograph, taken of Cornelius James Smith. He was in the original Bucktail Regiment, which was the 42nd PA, sometimes called the 1st PA Rifles. He was in Company A. And this was the Bucktail, according to the notes that we have in this collection. We actually have a bunch of his items, but that was the one he wore home. And the photograph was actually taken in 1863 at Fairfax Courthouse, Virginia. So that would have been about what he looked like around the time of the Battle of Gettysburg, or near the Battle of Gettysburg. But in my right hand here, we have his original cartridge box, which is really unusual. Now, this is actually a Confederate Sharps cartridge box, and we can tell that because of the color. It's a little, Union ones would be more black, and it also has a lead finial, which is really unusual. The lead finial is on Confederate ones. Union ones would have brass finials. And the other interesting piece is he put a 5th Corps badge on there. Corps badges came out in the spring of 1863, and they were all the rage. Everybody wanted one. It was kind of a new thing. So he put that on there, and during the Battle of Gettysburg, I believe the 42nd PA had Sharps rifles, single-shot Sharps rifles, and because they were considered sharpshooters. And sometime around 1864, they changed those rifles to Spencer rifles, which was a repeating type rifle fed by a tube magazine. Now, we have his original Spencer rifle, but we didn't bring that out here because he would not have had the Spencer rifle in Gettysburg. I mean, they didn't get him till a little bit after the Battle of Gettysburg. But he most likely had this with him, based on the Corps badge and the fact that they had Sharps rifles during the Battle of Gettysburg. So pretty interesting artifacts from James Cornelius. Another fun fact about him, he was not officially wounded during the Battle of Gettysburg, but later on in life, when he survived the Civil War and he tried to claim a pension, and in his pension paperwork, which we pulled from the National Archives, he claims an injury because he said a shell landed next to him and exploded during the Battle of Gettysburg, leaving him partially deaf. So it was not a grievous injury where he was treated and was knocked out of the fight, but it bothered him for the rest of his life, and he did claim pension on that partial deafness that occurred from the artillery burst during the Battle of Gettysburg.